Matt, the Patriots game went a little bit better than expected for them. Tom Brady, of course, made his homecoming here to Gillette Stadium. But were you honestly surprised by the level that the Patriots played at tonight?
I'd say it just depends on part of the game. I think game style, I think it's more dramatic than what I would thought, but I thought it was an unders. We went with unders in pregame, so I thought this notion of a slow it down style, keep them below the 34-ish. But no, in full candor, I was expecting something more in the high 20s. You've really accomplished something, but to pull them to the level that they pulled them is pretty phenomenal. I mean, considering a week ago, the Bucs went out to LA, a very difficult place to play, and the Rams are generally considered one of the best defenses in football right now. And that group held them to 24. The Patriots defense played even better than that today. So this was a little bit astounding.
Now, there was a lot of pressure on Mac Jones
Sure.
leading up to this game, and he actually played very well. He seemed very poised under
Yeah.
pressure out there. What did you take away from the rookie quarterback's performance?
Very unrookie-like, but I think a veteran version of himself will look back on this game 5, 10 years from now, and he'll say, you know what? I could have played better, and he could, because ultimately I think the difference in this game was some of the bad penalties Patriots had late, but also the 2 turnovers. Obviously, one of them is not Mack's fault. That's a fumble, but he did throw a bad pick. So you look at the game just from 10,000 feet, and Brady wasn't hot. He didn't have his greatest game, but that team didn't turn the ball over. So, they just didn't hurt themselves. They're +2 in the turnover differential, the little on the plus side there with time of possession. And then you turn around and look, it's kind of an ugly, mired game, but when you don't hurt yourself and you don't have the penalties late, that ultimately ends up being the difference. You look at a 56-yard field goal that just barely misses. You had a 5-yard procedure penalty on the final sequence. So how important would those 5 yards have been?
Absolutely. Now, on the other side of the ball, they really seem to kind of gel together more than they have so far this season. They held the Bucs to just a handful of field goals
Yeah.
and a touchdown. What did you take away from them?
It's a great group. It's a very deep group, and they're very versatile. And I think for folks out there that were a little bit sort of on the fence of, is this a good defense, is it not? It's like, they played really well against Miami, more or less, and the Jets, but is that just, like a head pat kind of thing? And no, you learned that tonight. This is a great defense against virtually anyone. And I thought the biggest part from them was they didn't have the toe stubbing series where we saw a week ago against the Saints. I mean, they played really, really well, and they just had 2 bad series, and that's too much when the offense is struggling. The offense is a little more consistent tonight, and the defense just really was consistent themselves throughout the day. So I think it's something to hang your hat on. They're not going to like that. They lost, right? So they still could have had, they still would have loved to get the victory. But ultimately, I think you have to be hopeful for what these guys will be able to do going forward the rest of the year.
Yeah, so for those watching at home, is it safe to say that Patriots fans have a lot to look forward to with Mac Jones at the helm for the Patriots?
Maybe, yeah, it's a 1-3 team, so I hate to I know it's hopeful. Go ahead and buy his jersey. He's going to be here a long time. He can play football clearly, and he's very poised. But they're going to be hard on themselves. I mean, we saw David Andrews from the podium. That's a great leader who's like, yeah, you guys are really happy with how good he looks. I've been telling you that for months. He's good. Fine, stop. But we're 1-3. We lost. I'm not in a good mood. And that's kind of how you have to take these things. The one thing that's a little weird about this year is I think we'll all get used to the pace of this 17-game thing here at some point. So 1-3 sucks, but there is a little extra fat on the end of this. So there's a lot of teams out there that I think are still pretty solid teams that don't have as clean a record as you would like. So long year, this year even a little longer than normal. So I think they have the people in-house to right the ship, but ultimately they got to learn how to run the football. That's the thing that's jumping out to me, Meredith. I don't know about you, but -1 net yards running the football. That's insanity.
Yeah, the running game was virtually non-existent, or actually non-existent.
Yeah, actually.
And as a few players said post-game, moral victories don't count.
Not a real thing.
This is a loss. A loss is a loss.
Yes.
So they can build off this one, and hopefully we'll have some exciting stuff to see from the Patriots for the rest of the season. It's still pretty early on. And once again, Matt, thanks so much for joining me.
My pleasure.